Okay, here's a video that's going to touch on China being imperialized economically by other nations and through the Boxer Rebellion.
The Boxer Rebellion. When the United States gained control of the Philippines as a result of the Spanish-American War, many saw the possession of the islands as a gateway to large markets in mainland Asia.
Okay, that's something that the U.S. has always wanted. Across the Pacific is very far, so we get this idea of the U.S. wanting islands as staging points, places to dock their ships. And in fact, this was one of the reasons that the United States wanted to open up Japan, not just as a trading partner, but as a place to dock their ships, refuel, and then continue on.
American products could be sold there, and many capitalists envisioned a new and untapped market for investors in large-scale railroad construction. At the dawn...
Oh, all right, let's take a quick second here. Here's we see the spheres of influence, okay? British, French, German, Japanese, Russian. They all have areas of China, okay? So they all control economically areas of China. Great.
Dawn of the 20th century, American factories were producing more goods than the country could consume.
This is a classic picture. The child without shoes working next to a factory. So this is a spinning mule, whether that's its real name or not. It might be more advanced than the spinning mule, but it's just spinning thread. I mean, I guess it's nice that there's actually windows with some open windows for some air, but this is one of the classic pictures of child labor.
Goods than the country could consume, and the continued growth of the American economy.
It's the same thing. I mean, this is going back to the factories. These are sewing machines, so we're now sewing the cloth. Okay, just look at the people lined up. Look how much it could be produced. Look at the working conditions. Imagine how loud it is right now in that picture. But that's industrialization. Let's get back to...
Depended on exports to foreign markets. China had been weakened by war and enormous amounts of foreign intervention. Britain...
Both of those pictures are all about different countries ripping apart China, taking China. Russia is as a bear, an eagle it is for Germany. We could... that's very odd. Cut that. There's an eagle for United States.
Britain, France, Germany, Russia, and Japan all had established settlements along China's coast. These nations also managed sizable spheres of influence where...
Okay, they all have spheres of influence. Once again, we get the idea. There's China, and there's a lot of other countries around it. I suppose on this one, they're trying to hatch China.
Where each country maintained strict economic control. The U.S. government and American investors began to fear a future in which China would be carved into European colonies.
This is one of the classic ones. It's very clear, more clear than the others, and actually not animals, just personified people cutting up China. Okay, China has no power to say stop. Japan, Germany, France, Russia, and England. If you're wondering, Japan, France, Russia, Germany, and England.
That were closed to American products and companies. With American interest in mind, the U.S. Secretary of State, John Hay, issued a series of policy statements that became known as the Open Door Notes.
Same thing, same idea.
These were letters addressed to the leaders of European powers, suggesting that nations share trading rights in China. This would create what Hay referred to as an open door.
Okay. The idea is that the door to China was open, that the idea that the U.S. is saying there's an open door and every other country represented can come in and trade, the open door policy.
It would be in the best interest of all, he argued, if no one country held a monopoly on trade in any part of China. As foreign intervention in China continued to grow.
Okay, so here we're going to do a little foreshadowing. Do you think if nationalists in China wanted to get the foreigners out, do you think with a pike and a tip and a sword and a spear, do you think this is going to be successful if nationalists in China wanted to rebel?
So did the resentment of many Chinese. Although China had managed to maintain its independence, large sections of major cities were completely under foreign control.
I mean, this is what they're going to have to go up against, a well-trained mercenary/army force.
Resentment of foreigners continued to swell amongst the Chinese, and secret societies began to form. pledging to rid their country of what they referred to as foreign devils. The most famous of these groups would give the coming Chinese rebellion its name. This group became known as the Boxers.
There was also known Society of the Harmonious Fists because they were experts at Kung Fu.
Because many of its members practiced martial arts. The Boxer Rebellion began with an attempt to expel all foreigners from China. The Boxers surrounded the European section of Beijing and kept the area under siege for several months. Hundreds of missionaries and other foreigners were killed, along with any Chinese who had converted to Christianity. Seeing American interests threatening the area, the U.S. government prepared to respond. In August of 1900, the U.S. sent 2,500 soldiers to China to protect American citizens and interests there. The soldiers fought alongside troops from Britain, France, Germany, and Japan to put down the rebellion.
And obviously the boxers and other resistance forces are going to have guns. They were not fully supplied, though. Okay, that was one of the problems of the rebellion. It wasn't fully supplied.
Within 2 months, the Boxer Rebellion was squelched. Thousands of Chinese died as a result of the fighting. After the conflict ended, John Hay issued a second series of open-door notes, stating that the United States would safeguard the principle of open trade for all nations in the Chinese Empire. This action established the United States as a major player in the post-Boxer Rebellion China, as well as on the global stage.
All right. Not bad. I absolutely loved all the primary sources. I'm going to go back and look at that a little deeper at some point. All right, and that was a good summary. So China was divided by about 5 different countries. U.S. had an open door policy, so even more countries could come in, and no one country could take over in the best interests of everyone. The U.S. convinced them, and then nationalist feelings, pride for their nation, wanting foreigners out, group the Boxers plus others tried to expel the foreigners, and in the end that did not work. I absolutely love that video because of its primary sources. I'll probably go back and look at some of those cartoons and some of the pictures a little bit more in depth later. Excellent. Thank you.